Are any of those people at the Supreme Court going to come forward and claim that I'm their property? Are we the people of their property? They got a contract that we've consented to that we're their property? Or do they have a contract with the service corporation they're acting through with our wet signature that we're property? No. See, those three questions are very powerful. That destroys these people that wear the black robes, no different than this Supreme candy-ass court that's in the United States that creates all this theater as if it's some sort of got the jurisdiction over the people. It doesn't. This is the problem that we have, but it is very simple for us and very easy to create a world in which we all wish to see. That doesn't involve taxation when you understand the creation of money. If there is some sort of a contribution that all of us need to make in order to keep our communities up or our country up, there is not a man or woman in this country that would not do this. But we are being stolen from on so many levels, it is not funny. From carbon tax to gas tax to property taxes to income taxes to sales tax, retail tax. It's on everything. Take a step back and think about on every single purchase, even the used clothes, right? I went to go buy some clothes from the Value Village here, used clothes there. They got some great stuff there, right? Because I don't have that much money that comes in. And I was over there a few weeks ago and I bought some clothes. You know that they charge tax on that again? They've already collected tax when it was manufactured, made. Then they're collecting tax the first time it's sold. Then they're collecting tax a second time when it gets resold again. It's massive theft. And if our world can figure out properly, as I'm laying forward here this evening, how to turn this around, we will turn this around, right? It's a racket. That's what goes on, right? This is what these maggots that wear the black robes do. It's all about this, right? And lining the pockets of themselves as well as their bar members. And anyone who's not part of their society, oh, woe unto ye lawyers, right? So anyways, it goes on to talk about Section 169 of the IAT provides, I don't know what that stands for. It's the income tax. Who knows what it stands for? He's probably written it out here, whatever. Provides you that if you disagree with the decision, you may appeal to the Tax Court of Canada. Oh, it's another court you can appeal to, right? Within 90 days from the date of that notice of confirmation is sent to you for the assessment. So once you go into this, it's pretty much the same crap anywhere you're getting it. Again, I'm showing you this at the CRA. So what we did, now this is going back, again, I just got brought on with them about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. They were looking at almost $40,000 that this service corporation, the CRA, was coming after them, and they're using all the fraud and stuff. Well, we wrote a very, very simple and very, very, nope, that's not it. Okay, so Bob Hamilton, this maggot, he's been at the Service Corporation, the CRA, for a very long time. This guy's corrupt to the core. I know he's had thousands of communications where people have tried to share with him and express and get on the public record what I'm sharing with you here, maybe not as well, but they're telling them that this taxation is all fraud, as Godfrey was talking about. This guy just ignores it, and they basically pick and choose, who they're going to kind of come after, right? Those that they can beat, they'll go after them like quick because they know if they've got you through fear. But once they start to see the mettle of a man or woman, they will back off. I'm a prime example. I did general contracting for 25 years almost. And in 1998, when I was working to bring my $1.5 billion initiative in 10 countries to launch it, I figured I'm not gonna file my income taxes for the next few years. I'll wait till I get set up within my new entity adventure that I was going to be due, and basically I'll address the taxation then. I knew nothing back then. I was ignorant as well. Back in the 90s, well, by the time it came to 2005, I hadn't filed any taxes with them, and I was awake to what was going on. Well, then I get a communication from them saying that they wanted to go back on 8 years of taxation from me to provide all my records, this and that. And back then, I wrote one letter to Bob Hamilton. I find it difficult to believe that maggot's still there, but he's got to be 90 years old by now. But anyways, I wrote to Bob and I said, hey, Bob, this is a longer version of it. I basically said, hey, Bob, Christopher James here. I was just going through this communication that was sent to me, Exhibit 1, right? And that's the notice that they sent to the House. And it says that a debt be due and a debt be true. So I said to them, I require of you to produce the obligation, that means contract, that a debt that Bob or any agent or officer under his control or the corporation, the Canadian Revenue Agency, CRA, claims that a debt be due, true, or past due. Kind regards, Christopher. He didn't send anything to me, right? Because without contract, there's no debt. And back then, because maybe I did such a good job at it, I didn't hear from them again. And I've never heard from them again. I have not paid any taxation since 1998. Mind you, I haven't had a pot to piss in for 20 years as well. Haven't had income because we were financially destroyed, as everybody knows. But having said that, even to this day, I will never pay a dime to these people in taxation. And then people will turn around and they'll say to everybody, oh, geez, you know, you're not part of the system. You're not working together with society. You know, you're not pulling your weight to support what's going on. No, I don't support fraud. And I understand very simply, and I'm well educated on the creation of money. And once those key pillars that we've talked about are restored, all of this corruption stops. We will not pay income tax anymore. All right, it's all based on fraud and ignorance. So here's the letter. Bob Hamilton, who sometimes acts as commissioner for the revenue and chief executive officer, there's this thing, notice tacit agreement. So again, we've sent him 3 notices out at this point. I'm just cutting right to the chase at the end of this. I, family of claim, now proven trespass as of this day. Did I, hang on a second, let me just see if I've got the letter there. I apologize. When I was, no, I'll show it with Marion Mead and that. Marion Mead's got it. So anyways, it goes on here. This is after Bob received 3 notices. We required him to produce, again, this is taxation, they're going back in 20 years, to produce the obligation to contract that Bob or anyone at the CRA claims that a debt be due or true. And if no one produces that contract, then all that leaves that somebody at the CRA must believe that this man that they were coming after, that he's property and that they can administrate over him. And they can't do that. So after we sent the 3 notices, they acquiesced. They never responded back to them. And I'll show you the notices with other people I'm going to do. It's the same thing, basically. It says, I, and that's the man and his family, have claimed and now proven trespass as of this day. Bob and agents under your control acquiesced and produced no evidence of debt be due, true, or past due. CRA offered to contract I. That's them by sending you this documentation claiming that there's a debt that's due or true and you're going to pay for it or blah, blah, blah. They're going to do this or that. They're trying to engage in contract with you. And once you drill down on that I don't have a contract with you and I've written to you 3 times and you've not produced that required evidence after 3 notices, well, now you get the tacit agreement. And the tacit agreement is powerful in law. It establishes the truth, okay? And you're going to stand on that when you go to these courts, okay? You're going to say, I wrote to Bob and Susie 3 times here if they try and move something against you. And that courtroom to say, they ignored my 3 notices. I'm making a special appearance here today, which you always do in their courts, saying I require this contract is produced, or who's the man or woman claiming that this debt be due, true, or past due. It's that simple. That's why I'm recording this too, so you can go back and listen to that exact tagline that I gave you there. That's all that has to be done, because that tacit agreement establishes that there's no contract and that there's no debt, that they produce the evidence required to be making such demands. And now when you've appeared at court, while everybody else is being paid for, you sent ahead of time to everybody that's involved in this. They do not stop this court against you. Here is my appearance fee, and this is my hourly fee for which I'm going to do. Now, these people that are working in tax offices at the property, at the municipal level, will address that differently with them, because we're going to turn around and we're going to lien their homes. We're going to take their property. We're going to hold them accountable if they do not correct the record. Okay, so it goes on to say, a tacit agreement is established and verifiable without verifiable evidence in writing is produced. Correct the record immediately, Bob, and stop trespasses. This has caused enormous wrong and harm. All people involved will be liable if not corrected, and further trespass communications do not stop. And they were making, as you can imagine, very threatening communications. They tried pushing it around to the minister. And just, we started with Bob Hamilton. He actually wrote back to these people of communication saying, I'm going to look into this, right? But then we also, when he came back from somebody else that was writing to it, then they weren't signing their name at the bottom of it. We went right up to the next maggot, the woman that's the head of the Minister of Finance for the Service Corporation Canada. She got these 3 notices, well, for her to produce the contract, because she's got a man under her jurisdiction, her control, an agent or officer, Bob Hamilton. When you look at the hierarchy of the CRA, who's actually in charge of all of it, she was in charge of that organization. We've let her know that there's a man that's bringing fraud out into the public, and he's trying to claim that a debt be due or true, and he doesn't have a contract with us, he doesn't have our consent, and he sure as hell has no verifiable evidence that he's going to bring forward that we are his property. As soon as we did that, when we took it up the chain, the same 3 notices and the tacit agreement with her, everything stopped for these people.